On this day we kept the Sabbath in heaven, before it was made known to any human to keep the Sabbath thereon upon the earth. The Creator of all blessed it, but he did not sanctify any people or nations to keep the Sabbath thereon, with the sole exception of Israel. He granted to them alone that they may eat and drink and keep the Sabbath thereon upon the earth. And the Creator of all, who created this day for a blessing and sanctification and glory, blessed it more than all days. This law and testimony was given to the children of Israel as an eternal law for their generations. And in 6 days of the 7th week, by the word of the Lord, we brought to Adam all of the beasts, and all of the cattle, and all of the birds, and everything which moves upon the earth, and everything which moves in the water, each one according to its kind, and each one according to its likeness, the beasts on the 1st day, and cattle on the 2nd day, and the birds on the 3rd day, and everything which moves upon the earth on the 4th day, and whatever moves in the water on the 5th day. And Adam named all of them, each one according to its name, and whatever he called them became their names. And during these 5 days Adam was observing all of these, male and female, according to every kind which is on the earth. But he was alone, and there was none whom he found for himself, who was like himself, who would help him. And the Lord said to us, It is not good that the man should be alone. Let us make for him a helper who is like him. And the Lord our God cast a deep sleep upon him, and he slept. And he took one bone from the midst of his bones for the woman, and that rib was the origin of the woman from the midst of his bones. And he built up flesh in place of it, and he constructed a woman. And he awakened Adam from his sleep, and when he awoke he stood up on the 6th day. And he brought her to him, and he knew her, and he said to her, This is now bone of my bone, and flesh from my flesh. This one will be called my wife, because she was taken from her husband. Therefore a man and a woman shall be one, and therefore it shall be that a man will leave his father and his mother, and he will join with his wife, and they will become one flesh. In the 1st week Adam was created, and also the rib, his wife. And in the 2nd week he showed her to him. And therefore the commandment was given to observe 7 days for a male, but for a female twice 7 days in their impurity. And after 40 days were completed for Adam in the land where he was created, we brought to him into the Garden of Eden, so that he might work it and guard it. And on the 8th day his wife was also brought in. And after this she entered the Garden of Eden. And therefore the command was written in the heavenly tablets for one who bears. If she bears a male, she shall remain 7 days in her impurity, like the first 7 days. And 33 days shall she remain in the blood of her purity. And she shall not touch anything holy. And she shall not enter the sanctuary until she has completed these days, which are in accord with the rule for a male child. And that which is in accord with the rule for a female is 2 weeks, like the first 2 weeks, in her impurity. And 66 days she shall remain in the blood of her purity, and their total will be 80 days. And when she finished those 80 days, we brought her into the Garden of Eden, because it is more holy than any land. And every tree which is planted in it is holy. Therefore the ordinances of these days were ordained for anyone who bears a male or female, that she might not touch anything holy, and she might not enter the sanctuary until these days are completed for a male or female. This is the law and the testimony which is written for Israel, so that they might keep it always. And during the 1st week of the 1st Jubilee, Adam and his wife had been in the Garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and guarding it. And we gave him work, and we were teaching him to do everything which was appropriate for tilling. And he was tilling, and he was naked, but he neither knew it, nor was he ashamed. And he was guarding the garden from the birds and the beasts and cattle, and gathering its fruits and eating. And he used to set aside the rest for himself and for his wife. And what was being guarded he set aside. At the end of 7 years, which he completed there, 7 years exactly, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day, the serpent came and drew near to the woman. And the serpent said to the woman, The Lord commanded you, saying, You shall not eat from any tree which is in the garden. And she said to him, The Lord said, Eat from all of the trees which are in the garden. But the Lord said to us, You shall not eat from the tree which is in the midst of the garden, and you shall not touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, It is not true that you shall surely die, because the Lord knows that on that day you eat of it, your eyes will become opened, and you will become like gods, and you will know good and evil. And the woman saw the tree that it was pleasant, and it was pleasing to the eye, and the fruit was good to eat, and she took some of it, and she ate. And she first covered her shame with a fig leaf, and then she gave it to Adam, and he ate, and his eyes were opened, and he saw that he was naked. And he took a fig leaf, and sewed it, and made an apron for himself, and he covered his shame. And the Lord cursed the serpent, and he was angry with it forever. And he was angry with the woman also, because she had listened to the voice of the serpent, and had eaten. And he said to her, I will surely multiply your grief and your birth pangs. Bear children in grief, and to your husband is your return, and he will rule over you. And to Adam he said, Because you listened to the voice of your wife, and you ate from that tree which I commanded that you should not eat, the land shall be cursed because of you. Thorns and thistles shall sprout up for you, and eat your bread in the sweat of your face until you return to the earth from which you were taken, because you are earth, and to the earth you will return. And he made for them garments of skin, and he dressed them, and sent them from the Garden of Eden. And on that day, when Adam went out from the Garden of Eden, he offered a sweet-smelling sacrifice, frankincense, galbanum, stacte, and spices, in the morning with the rising of the sun, from the day he covered his shame. On that day the mouth of all the beasts and cattle and birds and whatever walked or moved was stopped from speaking, because all of them used to speak with one another with one speech and one language. And he sent from the Garden of Eden all the flesh which was in the Garden of Eden, and all of the flesh was scattered, each one according to its kind, and each one according to its family, into the place which was created for them. But from all the beasts and all the cattle he granted to Adam alone, so that he might cover his shame. Therefore it is commanded in the heavenly tablets to all who will know the judgment of the law, that they should cover their shame, and they should not be uncovered as the Gentiles are uncovered. And on the first of the 4th month Adam and his wife went out from the Garden of Eden, and dwelt in the land of Eldah, in the land of their creation. And Adam named his wife Eve. They had no son until the first Jubilee, but after this he knew her, and he tilled the land, and as he had been taught in the Garden of Eden. And on the 3rd week, in the 2nd Jubilee, she bore Cain, and in the 4th she bore Abel, and in the 5th she bore Awan, his daughter. And at the beginning of the 3rd Jubilee, Cain killed Abel, because the sacrifice of Abel was accepted, but the offering of Cain was not accepted. And he killed him in the field, and his blood cried out from the earth to heaven, making accusation because he killed him. And the Lord rebuked Cain on account of Abel, because he killed him. And he made him a fugitive on the earth because of the blood of his brother, and he cursed him upon the earth. And therefore it is written in the heavenly tablets, Cursed is the one who strikes his fellow with malice. And all who have seen and heard shall say, So be it. And the man who saw and did not report it shall be cursed like him. Therefore, when we come before the Lord our God, we will make known all the sins which occur in heaven and in earth, and which are in the light, or in the darkness, or in any place. And Adam and his wife were mourning 4 weeks of years on account of Abel. And in the 4th year of the 5th week they rejoiced. And Adam again knew his wife, and she bore a son for him. And he named him Seth, because he said, The Lord has raised up another seed for us upon the earth in place of Abel, because Cain killed him. And in the 6th week he begat Azurah, his daughter. And Cain took his sister Awan as a wife, and she bore for him Enoch at the 1st of the 4th Jubilee. And in the 1st year of the 1st week of the 5th Jubilee, buildings were constructed in the land. And Cain built the city, and he named it with the name of his son Enoch. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she bore 9 more children. And in the 5th week of the 5th Jubilee, Seth took Azurah, his sister, as a wife. And in the 4th year of that week she bore for him Enos. He was the first to call the name of the Lord upon the earth. And in the 7th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Enos took Noam, his sister, as wife. And she bore a son for him in the 3rd year of the 5th week. And he named him Kenan. And at the end of the 8th Jubilee, Kenan took for himself a wife, Maulaeleth, his sister, as a wife. And she bore a son for him in the 9th Jubilee, in the 1st week, in the 3rd year of that week. And she called him Mahalalel. And in the 2nd week, in the 10th Jubilee, Mahalalel took for himself a wife, Dinah, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother, as a wife. And she bore a son for him in the 3rd week of the 6th year. And he called him Jared, because in his days the angels of the Lord who were called the Watchers, came down upon the earth in order to teach the sons of man and perform judgment and uprightness upon the earth. And in the 11th Jubilee, Jared took for himself a wife, and her name was Barakah, the daughter of Rasuyal, and the daughter of his father's brother, as a wife, in the 4th week of that Jubilee. And she bore a son for him in the 5th week, in the 4th week of the Jubilee, and he called him Enoch. This one was the one who learned writing and knowledge and wisdom from among the sons of men, from among those who were born upon earth, and who wrote in a book the signs of the heaven, according to the order of their months, so that the sons of men might know the appointed times of the years, according to their order, with respect to each of their months. This one was the first who wrote a testimony and testified to the children of men throughout the generations of the earth. And their weeks according to Jubilees he recounted. And the days of the years he made known, and the months he set in order, and the Sabbaths of the years he recounted, just as it was made known to him. And he saw what was and what will be in a vision of his sleep, as it will happen among the children of men in their generations, until the day of judgment. He saw and knew everything, and wrote his testimony, and deposited the testimony upon the earth, against all the children of men and their generations. And in the 12th Jubilee, in its 7th week, he took for himself a wife, and her name was Edni, the daughter of Daniel, his father's brother, as a wife. And in the 6th year of this week she bore a son for him, and he called him Methuselah. And he was therefore with the angels of God 6 Jubilees of years. And they showed him everything which is on earth and in the heavens, the dominion of the sun. And he wrote everything, and bore witness to the Watchers, the ones who sinned with the daughters of men, because they began to mingle themselves with the daughters of men, so that they might be polluted. And Enoch bore witness against all of them. And he was taken from among the children of men. And we led him to the Garden of Eden for greatness and honor. And behold, he is there, writing condemnation and judgment of the world, and of all the evils of the children of men. And because of him none of the water of the flood came upon the whole land of Eden, for he was put there for a sign, so that he might bear witness against all the children of men, so that he might relate all of the deeds of the generations until the day of judgment. And he offered incense, which is acceptable before the Lord in the evening, at the holy place, on Mount Kater. For the Lord has 4 sacred places upon the earth, the Garden of Eden, and the mountain of the east, and this mountain which you are upon today, Mount Sinai, and Mount Zion, which will be sanctified in the new creation for the sanctification of the earth. On account of this, the earth will be sanctified from all sin and from pollution throughout eternal generations. And in the 14th Jubilee, Methuselah took as his wife Edna, daughter of Azriel, his father's brother, as a wife, in the 3rd week of the 1st year of that week. And he begot a son, and he called him Lamech. And in the 15th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Lamech took for himself a wife, and her name was Betinos, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother, as a wife. And in that week she bore a son for him, and he called him Noah, saying, This one will console me from my grief, and from all my labor, and from the land which the Lord cursed. And at the end of the 19th Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 6th year, Adam died, and all of his children buried him in the land of his creation. And he was the first who was buried in the earth. And he lacked 70 years from 1,000 years. For 1,000 years are like one day of the testimony of heaven, and therefore it was written concerning the tree of knowledge. In this day you eat from it, you will die. Therefore he did not complete the years of his day, because he died in it. And at the end of that Jubilee, Cain was killed 1 year after him, and his house fell upon him, and he died in the midst of his house. And he was killed by its stones, because he killed Abel with a stone, and with a stone he was killed by righteous judgment. Therefore it is ordained in the heavenly tablets, With the weapons with which a man kills his fellow, he shall be killed. Just as he wounded him, thus shall they do to him. And in the 25th Jubilee Noah took a wife for himself, and her name was Imzara, the daughter of Rachael, daughter of his father's brother, as a wife. And in the 1st year, in the 5th week, and in its 3rd year she bore for him Shem, and in its 5th year she bore for him Ham, and in the 1st year of the 6th week she bore for him Japheth.